The prince smiled when the drums stopped. That's when I knew someone was going to die. I grew up in a small village in southern Nigeria. People there still tell old stories about kings and spirits, but this was not a story from long ago. I was there. I saw it. Our ruler was not called a king. He was a chief, but his son called himself a prince. His name was Tare. He was in his late 20s, tall, always dressed in white clothes. People bowed to him because of his father. Tare liked power. He liked to see people shake when he spoke. 2 years ago, my cousin Boma joined a small youth group. They wanted the chief to show how he used village money. The roads were bad, the clinic had no drugs. But the chief had just built a new house in Port Harcourt. The youth group planned a peaceful meeting in the town square. No weapons, just signs and phones to record. The night before the meeting, the village drummers went around to call people. It felt normal, but around midnight, the drums stopped halfway through the call. That never happens. Drums only stop like that when elders send a message in secret. The next morning, I went to the square early. I sell phone cards, so I stood near my small table. I saw Tare arrive with 6 men. They were not from our village. I knew every face in that place. These men were strangers. Big arms, hard eyes. Tare was smiling. The youths came with their signs. We want clean water. Where is the money? They were calm. Boma even waved at me. Tare walked to the center and raised his hand. The drummers, who had been quiet, started again. Loud, fast. It felt wrong. The sound made my chest tight. Then the fighting started. The strangers pushed into the crowd. They grabbed phones and smashed them. One man hit Boma with a stick. I heard the crack. Boma fell. People screamed and ran. I wanted to help him, but someone pulled me back. Don't, the old man beside me said. If you step forward, they will mark your face. Tare stood there the whole time. He did not touch anyone. He just watched. Later that day, the story changed. The chief announced that the youths had attacked the prince. He said the strangers were security. He said Boma fell while trying to run. But I saw it. Boma was taken to the clinic. There were no drugs, like always. He died that night from head injury. The nurse told us if he had reached a better hospital sooner, he might have lived. At the burial, Tare came with dark glasses. He dropped money on the ground and told Boma's mother, "This is for your loss." His voice was soft, almost kind. She did not pick up the money. After that day, people stopped asking about the village money. The youth group broke apart. Some left town. I stayed quiet. I had younger sisters to think about. Months later, one of the strangers was arrested in the city for another fight. In his statement, he said he was paid to control a protest in our village. He named Tare. Nothing happened. The case disappeared. Now, whenever the drums stop in the middle of the night, my skin goes cold. Because I know it is not spirits. It is not a curse from an old folktale. It is just a wicked prince who knows he can do anything and smile while he does it. And the scariest part, he is next in line to rule. Last month, the chief fell sick. It was sudden. People said it was high blood pressure. Others said it was poison. In our village, sickness always turns into a story. But this one felt too quick. Within a week, the chief could not speak. Within 2 weeks, he was gone. The day after the burial, Tare stood in the same square where Boma died. This time, there were no signs. No youth group, only elders and quiet faces. He wore white again. He said, "I will continue my father's good work. There will be peace." Nobody clapped. That night, the drums stopped again. Not halfway. This time, they stopped after 3 slow beats. An old signal. It means a warning. It means the elders have agreed on something heavy. The next morning, 2 men from the council were missing. Both had once asked about village funds. One of them was the old man who pulled me back the day Boma was beaten. Their wives said they left before dawn after getting a phone call. They have not come back. Rumors spread that they ran away. That they stole money. That they were afraid of the new ruler. But I know fear when I see it. Their wives were not angry. They were scared. A week later, I got my own warning. A black jeep stopped near my phone card table. The window rolled down. Tare was inside. He did not smile this time. "You were there that day," he said. "In the square." My mouth went dry. I nodded. "You sell phones," he continued. "Phones record things. Phones keep memories." "I did not record anything," I said. That part was true. I had been too afraid. He stared at me for a long time. Then he said, "Good. Memories can cause problems." The jeep drove off. That night, I could not sleep. I kept thinking about what he said. Memories can cause problems. I remembered something. On the day of the protest, Boma had handed his phone to a small boy before he walked into the crowd. I saw it. I thought he just did not want it to break. The boy is my neighbor's son. 12 years old. Quiet. Always watching. The next day, I went to his house. I told his mother I wanted to buy groundnuts. When the boy came outside, I asked him softly, "Did Boma give you his phone that day?" He froze. Then he ran inside and came back with an old cracked phone wrapped in cloth. "I was scared," he said. "I did not tell anyone. We charged it in my room with the door locked." There was a video. It was shaky. Loud drums in the background. But it showed everything. The strangers pushing first. The stick hitting Boma. Tare standing close, giving a small nod before it started. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the phone. "This can't stay here," I said. But where could it go? Police in our area answered to the chief's office. And now the chief was Tare. 2 days later, soldiers came into the village. Not many, just enough to show force. They said they were there for security reasons. That evening, the boy's father was taken for questioning. No reason given. The boy came to my house crying. They asked about a phone, he said. My heart felt like it stopped. I told him to go back home and act normal. Then I took the phone and walked to the only place I could think of, the small church at the edge of the village. The pastor there once worked in the city as a journalist before he became a pastor. People said he left because he was tired of threats. I showed him the video. He watched in silence. "This is dangerous," he said. "I know." He looked at me for a long time, just like Tare had. "If we send this out," he said, "there is no turning back." Outside, the drums started again. Slow, heavy. I realized something then. The folktales we grew up with were never about magic. They were about men like this. Men who hide behind titles. Men who smile when others bleed. And I was now inside the story. The pastor picked up his old laptop. "Once this leaves this village," he said, "the whole country may see." 3 months passed. People stopped talking about it in the open. Not because they forgot. Because they were tired. The video was still online. News stations in the city had played it for days. Human rights groups spoke about it. They said there would be an arrest. But no arrest came. One evening, I was closing my small table when I saw a new banner near the main road. "Welcome home, our leader." My chest went cold. Tare returned 2 days later. No sirens. No big show. Just 3 black jeeps and the same hard-faced men. He stepped out like he had only gone on a short trip. Some elders rushed to greet him. Not because they loved him. Because they were afraid. That night, the drums started again. Not a warning this time. A celebration rhythm. I stayed inside my room and locked the door. The next morning, there was news. The state police said there was not enough clear evidence in the video. They said it was under review. They said people should remain calm. The pastor was called for questioning in the city. He came back quiet. He would not tell me what they asked him. A week later, the boy's family moved away without telling anyone. Their house is empty now. The door swings open when the wind blows. Then something happened that no one talks about. A man who used to work as Tare's driver was found dead on the highway outside town. The report said car accident. But there were no skid marks. No broken glass on the road. Just the car resting straight in a ditch. The driver had been the one who picked up the strangers on the day of the protest. After that, fear became normal. Tare began holding public meetings. He spoke about unity, about moving forward, about forgetting the past. He even mentioned Boma's name once. He said, "We all lost a son." I watched from the back of the crowd. He looked straight at me while he said it. Not angry, not smiling, just watching. I realized then that he knew I had run from the church. He knew I had seen everything. But he also knew something else. If I disappeared, it would raise questions now. Too many eyes were on him. The video made sure of that. So instead of open violence, things became quiet. Permits for small businesses were delayed. Families who spoke too much had sudden tax problems. Young men were picked up at checkpoints for random searches. Nothing big enough for headlines. Just enough to remind us who was in charge. One night, the pastor called me. "I am leaving," he said. "Where? Far. Is it because of him?" There was a pause. "Some stories end in court," he said. "Others end in exile." He left the next week. Now, when people tell folktales about wicked princes, they talk about curses and spirits that punish them in the end. But this is the truth I learned. Sometimes the wicked prince grows older. Sometimes he becomes king, and the only thing that changes is that he no longer needs to smile when the drums stop. It has been almost a year since the video went viral. Tare is still here. Every week, I see him driving through the village in the same black Jeep. Sometimes he stops at the market. Sometimes he just waves at people like nothing happened. No one dares say anything to him. People whisper in corners. They talk about who disappeared last night. About who got invited to meetings with the elders. I stay quiet. I have learned that silence is safer than courage. Last week, I saw something I can't forget. A small crowd had gathered near the square. A man was shouting about stolen funds. Someone had dared speak. I pushed my table back and watched from the side. Tare appeared, calm, dressed in white again. He did not yell. He did not touch anyone. He just walked toward the man. The crowd went silent. The man froze. Tare leaned close and whispered something. I couldn't hear the words. But I saw the man's face go pale. His knees shook. He fell to the ground. The crowd gasped. The man's own friends tried to help him, but he could barely stand. Then Tare walked away, like nothing happened. Later, people said the man fainted from the heat. Nobody questioned it. I knew better. The scariest part is that Tare doesn't need to strike openly anymore. His power is in the fear he can make grow without a sound. Just a look, just a nod. At night, I still hear the drums sometimes. Not from the village, but in my dreams. Slow, steady, warning beats that tell me he is always watching. Always waiting. I have thought about leaving. Many of us have. But where can we go when the prince is not just in the village? When he has friends in the city, the police, and people who never speak but always report. I keep my head down. I sell my phone cards. I watch. I remember Boma. I remember the boy, and I wait, because one thing is certain. The wicked prince may not be defeated yet. But every story has cracks. And one day, someone might slip through them. Until then, I live in the shadow of the man who smiles while the drums stop. And I pray the drums never start for me. It was last night when I finally understood just how deep Tare's reach went. I was closing my table again, like usual, when I noticed a black Jeep parked across the street. No lights, no driver moving, just there, like it was waiting. My stomach sank. A man stepped out, not Tare this time, one of his strangers. Big arms, face hard like stone. He looked around slowly, scanning the street. My heart pounded so loud I was sure he could hear it. Then he walked toward me. Calm, quiet. Who are you? I asked, my voice shaking. He smiled. Not a friendly smile, a warning smile. You sell phones, he said. You see things you shouldn't. I tried to move, but my legs would not obey. You keep your head down, he said, or we will take more than your phone. I nodded. I couldn't speak. He turned and walked back to the Jeep. The engine roared to life, and it disappeared down the dirt road. I stood there for a long time, frozen. That's when I realized something worse than death. Tare doesn't need to kill everyone to control them. He just needs to make sure we never feel safe. That fear becomes part of our lives. That we think twice before opening our mouths, before speaking out, before trusting even our own neighbors. The boy, he left. The pastor, he left. Families left. But I'm still here, watching, remembering, hoping that one day someone braver, someone smarter, will finally break the silence. Until then, the drums in my dreams never stop. Sometimes, I wake up thinking I hear them in the distance. I check the streets. Nothing. But I know, Tare is still out there. Smiling, waiting, and the drums will stop, right before he strikes again. Because that is what the wicked prince does. And in our village, he is not a story anymore. He is real. This morning, I realized something worse. I opened my shop and found a small envelope on the table. No stamp, no return address. Just my name written in neat letters I didn't recognize. Inside was a single photo. It was me. I was standing here, behind my table, just yesterday. Someone had taken it without me noticing. And written on the back, in the same neat handwriting, "We see everything." I dropped the envelope. My hands shook. I looked around. The street was empty. Quiet. Too quiet. Then I heard the faintest sound of drums. Not from the village square. Not far away. Just inside my head. Slow. Heavy. Warning. I know now that Tare doesn't need to come for me in person. He doesn't even need to send his men. He only needs us to know that he is always watching. And that is enough. I packed up my phone cards early. I left the shop locked. I walked through the village like any other day, smiling, pretending nothing had changed. But I can feel it. The fear, the shadow of the prince. People say the drums are just drums. Stories, old fears, but I know better, because the wicked prince is real. And he is still out there. Waiting, watching, smiling, and I am not sure how long I can survive just by being careful. Tonight, I will lock every door, stay silent, and pray the drums don't start again. Because if they do, I know what comes next. That night, I did everything I could to stay invisible. I locked every door, pulled every curtain, and stayed in the corner of my room with the lights off. Hours passed. The wind moved the leaves outside. A dog barked in the distance. Nothing else. Then I heard it, a faint tapping at the window. Soft, deliberate. I froze. The sound didn't stop. I didn't want to look. I knew what it meant. But my body moved on its own. Slowly, I walked to the window and peeked through the gap in the curtain. Nothing. Just darkness. Then I saw a shadow in the street. A figure moving between the houses. Quiet, slow, watching. I couldn't see his face, but I knew. It was him, Tare. He didn't call out. He didn't wave. Just stood there for a long moment, looking at my house. Then, like a shadow, he disappeared into the night. I know now that running won't save me. Leaving the village won't save me. The wicked prince doesn't need to strike with violence anymore. Fear is enough. Fear lets him control everything, even when he isn't visible. I spent the rest of the night awake, listening, waiting, praying the drums never start. Because I understand now, the drums don't just stop to warn people. They stop to remind us who is in charge. And the wicked prince, he is always listening, always watching. And one day, the drums will start again. And when they do, I don't know if anyone will survive to tell the story. The church door shook once. Not loud, just one hard push. The pastor closed the laptop halfway but did not shut it. My heart was beating so fast I felt sick. Another push, this time stronger. Open up, a voice called out. Calm, not angry. I knew that voice. Tare, the pastor whispered, go to the back room. I grabbed the phone and ran behind the curtain near the small storage space. There was a tiny window there that faced the bush. I stayed still. I could hear everything. The door opened. Footsteps. 2 or 3 men. Good evening, Pastor, Tare said. Good evening, my son, the pastor replied. His voice was steady. I don't know how. We heard you have visitors, Tare said. I always have visitors. This is a church. Silence. Then I heard the laptop being opened. My stomach dropped. One of the men said, Sir, there is a video here. I held my breath. Footsteps moved closer to the back. I looked at the tiny window. It was small, but I could fit through if I forced myself. Then something unexpected happened. The pastor started speaking loudly. Not shouting, just strong. In this village, he said, we have buried too many young men. No one answered him. We buried Boma. We buried truth with him. There was a sharp sound. Like a slap hitting wood. Careful, old man, one of the strangers said. Tare's voice came again. Quiet, cold. Where is the phone? No one spoke. I realized something terrible. They did not just come for the laptop. They knew about the phone. The pastor said, you can silence people. But you cannot silence what has already left. My chest tightened. Left. What did he mean? There was a long pause. Then I heard typing. Fast. Angry. Sir. One of the men said, it's uploading. My mind went blank. The pastor must have pressed send before they entered. The internet in our village is slow, but sometimes, if the signal is strong, things go through. Tare did not speak for a long time. Then he laughed. Soft. Almost tired. You think this will save you? He asked. Another sound. A crash. Something fell. The laptop, maybe. I could not stay there anymore. If they found me with the phone, it would be over. I pushed the small window open and squeezed through. The metal cut my arm, but I did not feel it. I ran into the bush and did not look back. I stayed hidden until morning. When I returned to the village, people were gathered in small groups, whispering. Phones were out. Faces looked shocked. The video was everywhere. Someone had shared it to a big news page in the city. Then to other pages. Then to messaging groups. By sunrise, everyone had seen it. You could see Tare clearly. The nod. The signal. The men moving in. Soldiers were still in the village, but now they looked tense. By noon, police from the state capital arrived. Not the local ones. Different uniforms. Different cars. They went straight to the chief's compound. Tare was not there. They said he traveled early that morning for official matters. No one has seen him since. The pastor is in the hospital. They said he fell during an argument. His arm is broken, his face is bruised, but he is alive. The boy's father was released quietly. No charges. The two missing council men have still not returned. At night, the drums are silent now. Too silent. People say justice is coming. That the video is strong proof. That powerful people in the city are angry. But I have learned something. Power does not disappear. It hides. Sometimes I wake up thinking I hear a jeep outside my house. I look through the window before I sleep. I jump at small sounds. Because the scariest part is not what he did in the open. It's that he is still out there somewhere. And one day, the drums might start again. It happened yesterday. I was walking home from the market when I saw the black jeep again. Not at the edge of the village this time. It was parked in the middle of the street, right where people gather during the day. No one was around. I froze. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst. The driver stepped out. A stranger. Big, silent, looking like stone. He didn't wave. He didn't smile. He just stared at me. And then, the man raised his hand. Not to strike, not to grab me, just a slow, deliberate point toward my house. I felt my stomach drop. I ran. When I got home, everything was exactly the same. Nothing had moved. The doors were locked. The curtains were drawn. And yet, I could feel it. The weight of him, watching, waiting. Later that night, I heard the drums again. Not in the village, not in the square, in my dreams. Slow, heavy, stopping and starting like a heartbeat. I can't leave. I can't speak. I can't even tell anyone the full truth. Not now. The boy who had Boma's phone. Gone. Moved quietly. The pastor. Left the country. Families who questioned Tare's rule. Scattered. I'm one of the few left who knows everything that happened. And I can feel the walls closing in. The wicked prince isn't just a man. He's a shadow over all of us. And the drums will start again. I just hope I'm still alive when they do. Because next time, there might be no one left to tell the story. This morning, I noticed something that froze me. On my doorstep was a small clay pot. No note, no footprints around it, just the pot. I opened it. Inside was a single grain of white rice. Nothing else. At first, I laughed. Maybe I was imagining fear. Maybe it was a child playing a trick. But then I remembered the old stories my grandmother used to tell, the ones about wicked princes and curses. She said that a single grain of rice left at your home was a warning. A signal that someone was watching. A reminder that your life could change without notice. I looked outside. The street was empty. No cars. No people. Just the wind moving the leaves. And I knew. Tare doesn't need to show up. He doesn't need to speak. He only needs to remind you he is there. The village is quieter now. People barely meet outside. Phones are kept hidden. No one laughs too loudly. No one asks questions about money or missing people. I sell my phone cards, but I barely speak to anyone. I keep my eyes down. I check every shadow. I count the hours until the drums will start again. Because one day, they will. And when they do, I know I will be watching, waiting, praying that I am invisible, praying that the wicked prince will not decide I am next. But deep down, I already know, there is no escaping him. And one day, the drums will stop, right before he comes for you. The story isn't over. It never ends. Last night, something happened that made me realize how close it really is. I was lying in bed, trying not to breathe too loud. The house was quiet, except for the wind. I thought I was alone. Then I heard it, a soft tap on the roof. Just 3 taps. Slow, deliberate. I froze. My blood ran cold. It stopped. A pause. Then the sound of footsteps outside, circling the house. Not fast, not running, just walking, watching, waiting. I didn't move. I couldn't. I remembered the photo in the envelope, the one with the words, "We see everything." I realized then, Tare doesn't need to enter your house. He only needs to remind you he can. He only needs to make you feel that fear. And that fear, it is stronger than anything else. I stayed awake all night, listening. Counting the moments between the taps. Waiting for something that may never come, or may come too late. By morning, the footsteps were gone. The roof was still. The street empty. But I know it wasn't just my imagination. I know he was there. Watching. Smiling under the sun I could not see. And I know this will happen again. The drums will start. The taps will come. And someone will vanish. I am still here. For now. But the wicked prince is never far. And the story is still being written. I think I've realized the worst part. It's not Tare himself. It's what he does to people around him. The fear spreads faster than he ever has to move. The villagers now glance over their shoulders at every footstep. People whisper when they meet in the market. Even children are afraid to speak up in school. Yesterday, I saw the young boy who had Boma's phone. He doesn't play outside anymore. He sits in the corner of his house and watches the street all day. His mother told me he keeps asking if the prince is coming for us. No one laughs at his question. No one dares. And I can feel it too. Every time I leave my room. Every time I step outside. The other night, I swore I saw Tare's jeep parked at the edge of the village again. I ran inside, but when I looked out the window later, it was gone. No tracks, no dust. Just silence. I've stopped counting how many people have disappeared quietly. Some neighbors just leave in the middle of the night. Some don't return from trips to the market. No one talks about it openly. Not anymore. I've started sleeping in shifts with my younger sisters. We lock doors, we hide phones, we whisper. But I know it won't be enough if he decides to come for me personally. The truth is this. Tare doesn't need to attack openly. He doesn't need to threaten with guns or sticks. Fear is stronger than pain. Fear can make people vanish without a trace. Fear can make a village obey without anyone having to speak a single word. I feel it in every drumbeat. I hear it in every silence. And I know, deep down, that this story isn't over. Because the wicked prince never stops. And one day, the drums will start again. And I won't know if I'll live to hear the end. I don't know how long I can keep this up. Yesterday, I saw something I couldn't unsee. I was walking near the square when I noticed a new face in the crowd. A young man, maybe my age. He looked confused, lost. I watched him, trying to figure out why he was here. Then Tare appeared, calm, dressed in white as always. He walked straight to the young man. Spoke to him quietly. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw the boy's shoulders drop. His eyes went wide. He nodded. And then, he walked away like he had been commanded. No one noticed. No one spoke. The crowd didn't even blink. That's when I understood completely. Tare doesn't need to threaten or strike anymore. He doesn't even need to show his power openly. Just a word, a look, a whisper, and people obey. I went home quickly, locked every door, drew every curtain. I didn't speak to anyone. I didn't eat. I just sat, trying to make sense of it. The drums started again that night. Slow, heavy, stopping and starting like a heartbeat. But this time, they felt closer. Not far away, not in the village square. Right here, inside my bones. I know now that no matter what happens in the city, no matter how many eyes see the videos, no matter how loud people speak, Tare's reach will always be here. Watching, waiting, smiling. And I realized something even scarier. The wicked prince isn't just outside. He's inside our heads now. He's in every glance, every silence, every fear that stops us from speaking. I am still alive, but I can feel it. One day, the drums will stop, and someone will disappear. And next time, it might be me. This morning, I woke up to silence. Not the normal quiet of the village before people stir, but a different kind of silence. The kind that presses down on your chest and makes you afraid to breathe. I stepped outside. The street was empty. No children running, no dogs barking, not even the wind moving the leaves. Even the birds were silent. And then I saw it. A single black jeep parked at the edge of the village. Empty. No driver. No lights. Just there. Waiting. I didn't move. My heart was pounding so loud I thought it could give me away. Then I noticed the small envelope at my doorstep. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I already knew what it would say. It was a warning. A reminder. A message that Tare was still here, still watching, still in control. The village has learned to live like this now. Quiet, careful, eyes down, words measured, every step calculated. Even the elders who once spoke boldly now whisper in shadows. Even the children are taught to obey the silence. I can't leave. I can't speak. I can't even look too long at the empty streets for fear that the shadow will notice me. The wicked prince doesn't need to strike openly anymore. His power is in the fear he carries, in the knowledge that no one is safe, that he is always near. I can hear the drums in my dreams now. Slow, deliberate, stopping and starting like a heartbeat. Waiting, warning, always warning. And I know one day they will stop again, and when they do, someone will disappear. Next time, it might be me. And the village will not even speak of it. Last night was different. I was lying on the floor in my room, trying not to make a sound. The windows were locked, the doors bolted. Even the cat stayed hidden. I thought I was safe. Then I heard it, not drums, not footsteps, a soft, deliberate scratching on the wall near my bed. Slow, repeated. I froze. My blood ran cold. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to see. But curiosity forced me. I turned my head just a little. A shadow moved, just outside my window. Tall, quiet, watching, waiting. I knew it was him. Tare. He didn't speak. He didn't move closer. He didn't even knock. Just stood there, silent, smiling under the faint moonlight. I realized something I hadn't before. The wicked prince doesn't need to act in public anymore. He doesn't need to threaten, to hit, to send soldiers. Just the knowledge that he is near is enough. That alone keeps the village silent, careful, terrified. I spent the whole night awake, staring at the wall where the shadow had been. By morning, he was gone. The street was empty. The village woke as usual, pretending everything was normal. But I know the truth. Tare doesn't sleep, he doesn't leave, he doesn't forget, and I know that one day, the drums will stop, and someone will vanish. Next time, it might be me. And when it happens, no one will speak of it. Not a single soul. The story of the wicked prince is far from over. It never will be. It's been 3 days since that night. I haven't slept properly. Every sound feels like a warning. Every shadow makes my heart jump. Even the wind outside sounds like footsteps. People in the village are quieter than ever. Children don't play. Adults don't gather in the square. Even the elders speak only in whispers, glancing at each other nervously. Yesterday, I saw Tare again. Not in his jeep this time. He walked down the main road, alone, smiling faintly. No guards, no soldiers, just him, walking slowly, watching, not a word spoken, and yet everyone moved out of his way. The silence followed him like a shadow. I realized then what the truth really is. It's not violence that makes him powerful. It's fear, pure, quiet fear, and once it takes hold, it spreads. It seeps into every home, every mind, every heartbeat. I'm starting to see that there is no escape, no hiding. Even if I left the village, he would still be out there, somewhere, watching. Waiting, and the moment the drums stop, the moment they stop, someone disappears. I feel it in my bones now. I wake up in the middle of the night, thinking I hear the slow beat of drums, stopping and starting, echoing through the walls of my room. And I know the wicked prince is always near, always watching, always waiting, and one day, the story will come for me too. I hope I can survive until then. This morning, I realized something worse than ever before. I stepped outside, careful, eyes on every shadow. The street was empty, the market quiet, but on my doorstep, another envelope. I didn't touch it, I couldn't. My hands were shaking too badly. I only dared to look at it from the doorway. It was small, thick, heavy, the kind of envelope that doesn't carry letters but warnings. Inside, a single folded piece of paper. No words, just a photograph. It was me, sitting here, last night, awake, watching the street, counting the shadows. The photo had been taken from across the street. Someone had been watching me. I dropped the paper. My heart slammed in my chest. I know now. Tare doesn't need to come inside your home. He doesn't need to strike. He only needs to remind you that he is there. That he can see everything. That he knows everything. I've stopped going out after dark. I barely speak. I lock the doors and windows even during the day. I keep my eyes down, even when someone passes me on the road. And still, I can feel him. Always. Watching. Waiting. Smiling. The drums will stop again. I know it, and when they do, someone will vanish. Next time, it might be me. And the village will not speak of it. Because the wicked prince does not need to show his power. Fear alone is enough, and it is everywhere now. Last night, I heard something new. Not drums,